Good morning. Thank you for joining us for 10 minutes to discuss how you can support well-being within your team and hopefully for yourself as well. I'm Carolyn Cumsty-Fowler, Senior Director for Nursing Wellbeing at the Johns Hopkins Health System, and I'm delighted to be partnering with Dr. Rich Saphir, the Chief Medical Director of Employee Health and Wellbeing at JHM during this journey. Please give yourself the gift of 10 minutes of undistracted attention. Minimizing distractions is good for your brain and it's great for your well-being. This week, we're going to be continuing our exploration of the norms building block. Now, if you remember, last week, Dr. Saphir talked about what norms are and how important they are in the workplace for supporting safe clinical practice and well-being. Today, we'll focus on a very important aspect of well-being, and that's rest. But specifically, we're going to talk about how we can take breaks at work. As human beings, we need types of rest, many types of rest. We think about sleep often, but let's look at 7 types of rest. Firstly, physical, of course, sleep, but naps, as well as time to breathe, stretch, relax. Mental or cognitive rest, and we'll explore this quite a lot in a few moments. Emotional rest is being able to offload emotional stressors or the fatigue that comes with the constant responsibility, helping, and caregiving. Social rest could be connecting to others or resting from connecting to others if you find yourself surrounded by lots of people all the time. Sensory rest is about decreasing the overload and the overstimulation on your brain. That's about quieting the level of input. So decreasing screen time, perhaps trying to find somewhere that's quiet or somewhere that's dark. Spiritual rest is not a religious practice unless that's meaningful to you. What it really refers to is the connection to anything that gives you a sense of purpose and meaning. And finally, creative rest. And this is a non-judgment zone. We aren't saying how creative or you are or not, but this is about expanding our view in the moment, connecting possibly with nature, reading, or anything that feels personally creative to you. The ability to take breaks is an important element of safe, healthy, and respectful work environments. When our staff feel supported in taking breaks, even short breaks, they're more engaged, motivated, and productive. And although it may feel challenging to take breaks, especially proper lunch breaks, and I confess I have eaten lunch at this desk and my desks more often than I can count, let's look at the benefits of taking breaks from work. Breaks provide an opportunity to rest and reset during our workday and increase engagement in wellness practices while at work. So the break itself can increase our willingness to engage in more wellness. Research has shown that breaks also improve focus, energy, and memory. They reduce decision fatigue, and they improve clinical and critical reasoning. They improve motivation and productivity, especially in the second half of our work shift. And they increase creativity and solution finding, which is really important in environments such as ours. It's also been suggested recently that breaks help maintain our sense of self and our connection to our moral and ethical compass. So this morning, we're going to focus on breaks we can take at work, even when we're busy, and I'm dividing them into 2 broad categories, the bio breaks and the brain breaks. And we all know that it doesn't matter where we act, wherever we give ourselves a break, it will benefit our overall well-being. So bio breaks are about meeting basic physiological needs at work. Obviously, you can read the slide as well as I can. But the key here is modeling and supporting our staff in taking time for these breaks. When we support each other in meeting these needs, we also build social connection. You may have noticed on the slide that when I talk about movement, I don't just talk about movement as in sedentary versus moving, but I talk about movement balance. So if, for example, you notice that you spend a lot of the day flexed forward like this, it may help you to actually move into a place of extension. If you are rushing around, maybe you need a moment of to be sedentary or to actually settle. So it's about balancing the opposite. Brain breaks. This is critical because the human brain cannot multitask. So when we have to multitask at work, we're asking our brain to switch directions rapidly, which is exhausting for the brain. And if that's left unchecked, it leads to compromised focus, attention, motivation, willpower, and productivity, and actually to mistake making. Brain breaks, even if very short, can help our brain recharge for the work ahead. And the key practice here is that we are shifting what we are doing so that we can use a different area of our brain for a short time. So let's have a look at some examples of that. One option is, of course, just to start breathing slowly and intentionally, taking over control of your breathing, which otherwise would be automatic. Perhaps also reconnecting to your purpose and intention for your work, because it's so easy for us to get locked into the process and kind of disconnect from what's valuable about it to us. Switching to a different activity. So for example, if you're having to spend a lot of time writing a report, looking perhaps for the images that would go with it might be helpful. If you're spending a lot of time looking at numbers and data, maybe actually doing something that's more language focused would help. If you're working alone, maybe think about working with people. If you've been working with people, maybe shift to something that you can do by yourself for a little while. Changing location and environment is important, ideally getting outside, but maybe even looking out of a window or finding something to inspire you in your workplace. Walking or exercise are always great brain breaks, as is having a meal or a healthy snack. But the key here, friends, is we don't get to work while we're eating. We can also practice a mindful pause, or if we have time, a longer 10-minute meditation. Listening to music is a brain break. Daydreaming, yes, really, because it takes us to somewhere else that we can visualize, something that perhaps we love to remember. And anything that activates your visual cortex or your creative brain, even doodling, can give your brain a fantastic break. And here I want to just quickly pause to tell you about a free resource from the Office of Wellbeing and the Peabody Institute. Tara is going to share the link in the chat. But somatic shorts are 5-minute movement practices. You can wear regular clothes. You don't need equipment. You don't need a lot of space. But they let you reconnect with your body through intentional conscious movement. What's really interesting here is that Jen, who developed the series for us, divided them into activating or energizing sessions or calming. So if you've been sedentary all day, you might enjoy an energizing or activating session. If you've been rushing around all day as part of your clinical role, you might enjoy a 5-minute calming session. And yes, there is a brief dance workout. What if I can't take a break? Well, breathing is always going to be your friend, as is a quick shift of focus. But I'm not going to say more because next week we're going to dive into the idea of breath work more deeply. So let's get to some agenda tips. First, I want to thank you for always modeling the well-being behaviors in your daily work. You are just our greatest resource in advancing well-being in this health system. We do, however, have 2 agenda tips. One is to consider shortening meetings to allow people to take a short break between their commitments. So maybe a 15-minute or a 25-minute meeting instead of an hour or 30. The key here, of course, is that we commit to honoring the fact that it's shorter so that we all get the breaks. Another agenda tip would be to actually put a brief break on the agenda, such as a moment of stretching or a moment of breathing, or arranging the agenda items so that the attention that you're needing for each of the agenda items is switching, perhaps, so that you may be thinking about numbers at one point, strategy at another. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And I'm going to ask you, please, to give us the gift of your feedback by answering the 2 questions that are at the link that Tara is putting in the chat. Next week, Dr. Sophia and Jennifer Salaveri will introduce the well-being exercise, taking a breath. So this will be an opportunity to experience the power of breath work. We hope you'll join us for that. And we also hope that you could bring a colleague with you. As always, we invite you to connect with the many, many resources we have on our website. And if there's something that's not there, please let us know, and we'll make sure to work on that for you.